Hi, my name is Sally Bernard, an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer. Welcome to Call Me Zena, a true story into the spiritual realms. Join me as I sit and discuss the journey of self-discovery, and with the help of my spirit guides, it's time to trust your intuition. Sit with me and call in live 888-994-4995, Studio A. And now onto the show. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to my show. I don't know if you heard the opening number, Fly Me to the Moon. Did it record before I came on? Okay, well, I always have special guests. Steve, Dawn and Freddie are special guests always. And I have Russ Johnson here from Lights in the Night. I don't know why, and I know you've had that show for many, many years now.
At least a couple.
And I always forget the lights in the night. Okay, so welcome everybody to my show. If you have any questions about the trip to the moon, I can do my best to answer it. I have no idea what the spirits are going to tell me. But here we go. Welcome everybody. Hi. Questions, please. Questions.
You're going to read the book?
Yes, I am. You're absolutely right. See, I'm getting all confused. It's like I just came back from the moon. Okay, No Mystery, No Magic. I wrote this November the 7th, 2006. Okay, all we are is what we are. There are many clues within our being. What greatness we have. What sorrow which has been. Please listen to yourself. We hold the key to open any door and lock out what it was when and if we are scared, we ourselves can make a change. Find joy on this road. We will have many bumps and challenges ahead. Do not despair. Seek and you will find such happiness. Go with a smile. Laugh out loud. Go with peace and forgiveness. Go with others on this journey. We are but one. We are not alone. Enjoy what we have chosen. Let us listen and learn in this short space of time. We will return. We will understand. Go with love, my children. That is what we have. Do not forget, Zena. And you know what? It took you, Russ, to point out a couple of poems that I wrote all those years back for me to actually listen to what I had been reading. I went over the one that you told me, I think, a couple of weeks ago. And I'm going to say it was 20 years ago that I wrote this. I had a much deeper meaning of what I had actually written. Because at that time, I was just, like I did with my art, I was just writing from my head. I did have Aldo with me at the time, and he did read them, but he still let me be the one to interpret because he was many, many years ahead of me. So he obviously was watching it and listening to it from a different perspective.
Right.
But I'm getting closer to that perspective today.
That's a good book.
It takes a long, long time to understand.
Well, that's a good book.
Thank you.
It's on Amazon?
It's on Amazon, yes.
Amazon.
Call Me Zena.
Right.
And it's also with Author
Are you
House.
going to bring it to the event on May 12th?
Could do.
May 12th, talk about it.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll close our show with that so people can maybe take a listen. But let's do our show we're going to talk a little bit about the moon and some of the questions that you have. And we'll close the show with the details on that.
Well, yeah, take about 3-4 minutes to talk about it because you're going to bring your book and you're going to sign your book, right?
Well,
for the people who want to buy.
Do.
There should be about 100.
It's a good idea.
Sure.
Okay, so anybody that wants to meet me, I'll be there. With or without my book, I'll be there.
Well, with your book,
have
a couple of books that make people want your signature.
Thank you.
Right.
No, my voice is going again. I can't believe that.
Sally, with the recent moon flight, after they compile all the data, and they've been releasing certain photos and certain data, what do you think that they found on their journey that they won't release? What do you think?
I actually hadn't heard that. They have been talking about that, or you want me to say what I feel?
What you feel.
Okay. Well, there is many. I mean, people that watch my show, I can come out with a little bit more than I would with other people that may not be interested or may say, what is she talking about? But there is, and I know that you can back me up on this, Russ, there's a program called the Secret Space Program. And so much is going on that we haven't been privy to at all. But And that's been going on, I would say, since how long they had that program?
At least since the early 40s.
Yes, I was going to say that. Yeah, of course, it wasn't so wide. Well, it's not known now, but they couldn't get out what they do now because we have the internet, which we didn't obviously have this in the 40s. But they have so many things, I'm going to say, they have suppressed and do not tell us.
Yeah.
So there's so much more, especially on the other side of the moon. They call that the dark side, right? Mm-hmm. So they went to the moon. Were they the first people on the moon? Again, I'm going to come out with something that can be very controversial, but I do have you sitting here. Mm-hmm. No, I do not believe that that was the first time that they had traveled to the moon, even 50 years ago. Well, 50 years ago, and anyone that may be following this, was that the first walk? I don't believe that too, but there's only so much that they have allowed us to know, so to speak. It's a big secret.
Yeah, they've kept it a secret.
And it's very controversial, this subject. And, you know, my viewers, it's just, as far as I can tell, people that are listening in, you may or may not want to believe this, and that's fine. I understand that too, because I'm learning more and more the more I hear that I used to think even 20 years ago when I wrote this book. Mm-hmm. What am I talking about? I used to really think, my goodness, I've traveled to planets in this book. Am I crazy? But along my journey over the last 20 years, I've met many people that can relate to what I'm saying, and you're definitely one of them. I'm not sure about Dawn and Fred. I know Dawn, but Freddie I'm not sure about, but I know that he does relate. So, you know, it's an interesting subject, and I love to talk about it.
Right, well, you've done a good job.
Thank you.
Your writing in your book is really very clear.
Well, in my book, for viewers that may not have read my book or that don't know my story, and I knew nothing about astral projection so I thought I knew nothing about it. I'd never gone and astral projected, and no one had explained it to me. So I did purely on my own, without what I thought any knowledge of knowing this. I found out later that I did from other lifetimes, that I was traveling to different planets. I openly talk about it in here. And 20 years ago, it wasn't a subject that you could really talk about in the open. So I kept it undercover, basically, until this came out. And then over the years, I've had many people ask me many different questions, and they've also asked me about astral projection and astral travel and remote viewing. And it's very open today, which it wasn't years ago, as is other lifetimes. I apparently knew all this, and people that know my show have obviously heard me mention Aldo many, many times.
Steve.
And it's come out very up in the open now, so I feel very comfortable, much more comfortable to talk about it. So here we go. Any questions? Do you have a list of any questions? I know sometimes you print some out from viewers.
Steve has.
Yeah, you've heard me refer to Pink Floyd's album Dark Side of the Moon, which was from the 1970s. And the running time of that album was 42 minutes and 50 seconds. And that's the almost exact time that the astronauts had the communications blackout as they went around the dark side of the moon. Do you suppose there's a corollary there? You say there's no coincidence.
I do. I was just going to say there are no coincidences, synchronicity. There are so many. I think I talk about that too. That is hidden from us. And the ones that hide it from us do leave little messages all over the place. And I happen to, in my mind, I believe that they got a joke out of that, so to speak, you know, many years ago. I don't know when. I'm not familiar too much with Pink Floyd, but I don't know. I'm not saying that he knew, but how could that be really, when you think about it, a coincidence, right? That was something that they laugh about. There are many signs and symbols that we don't know what we're looking at, but there are many people that do know what we're looking at, and they get enjoyment from that. And I'm not here necessarily to discuss that, but I don't think that was coincidence. Again, I can't prove it. I don't know for sure.
So if you were on that space capsule with the astronauts, what would you have hoped to have seen?
I don't think I would have seen a whole lot more than what they saw. They never got out of the spaceship. I think you need to get onto the moon to take a good
they were
look.
about 4,000 miles.
Well, they may have done, but what I would oh, you mean during my travels or actually on the moon?
No, if you were on that spaceship, what what would you have hoped you would have seen?
Fellow aliens. I'd love to have met a few of them. We meet them here, we just don't know. But if we met them out in space, we'd have a very good idea that they were definitely for real.
So the fact that you said fellow aliens suggests that you feel you're an alien.
Ah, I didn't say that, you did. To be continued.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
well when you listen to Elizabeth April
Yes, I do. She's really
and
good.
Laura Eisenhower and Linda Moulton Howell and all those many others,
Right.
they say we are aliens because they have put 24 different alien species DNA in our system.
That's so interesting, Russ. I know that. That's a great topic, actually. But I mean,
Sure.
we are all aliens, and I love what you just said.
They've seeded this planet with us.
Absolutely.
So we're the experiment.
Yep, we are.
And that's going to be hard for a lot of people to conceive because we've been taught and thought that we were the primary species in all of the galaxies and all of the universe. But that's not true. We are the youngest, if you will, and they look at us as the neophytes.
We're the experiments.
The neophytes.
Right.
Because there's some entities who live 100,000 years or 10,000 years very easily, like the reptilians and the Dracos.
Yeah, they are here amongst us.
Yes,
we
they
just
are.
don't happen to see them.
They own this planet.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are many different species, but they're primarily the ones that really
They've been here a
have
long
to say
time,
so
long time.
of what goes on here.
When Aldo was teaching you, training you, motivating you, helping you to understand some of this, did he indicate that there were thousands and thousands and thousands of other entities in the vastness of the universe?
Yeah. See, I was just beginning, he never pushed me into a conversation. No, but that's a good point. Because if I would ask him a question or say that I feel that, I knew more than I did, then he would explain it. And of course he did that. He explained the whole story of how the settlers first came down here from Mars. He explained it. What he did, which I found very interesting, he gave me 2 books to read when he first met me.
Those are.
And he said, if you can get through those 2 books, then I will tell you more. The first was Zachariah Sitchin's story.
Was it the 12th planet?
The 12th planet.
Okay.
And the second one was David Icke.
Oh, David Icke.
And
He's
I read
brilliant.
both of
He's
them.
brilliant.
And he said, you got through them. Now ask me some questions.
But David Icke has written about 20 books.
Oh, yeah, but this was, I'm going back 20 years
Sure,
ago.
sure.
When he'd written.
What one was?
But I didn't know who David Icke was at that time. And anybody that's interested, I'm going to say conspiracy theories or have some idea maybe of what I'm talking about because I know that much. But it opened my eyes to a lot, especially David Icke. I mean, Zachariah Sitchin was amazing. And actually, I was doing drawings at that time, which is interesting now to me, even when of a lot of things that I saw in Zachariah Sitchin's teachings of what he was showing, what I had drawn, same as my prose, I was drawing what he had given illustrations of.
Wow.
So anybody that's interested, to me, then I felt I wasn't alone in some of the things that I was, happening to me. And you know this, Steve, we went the other day, I went about my car to a dealership. And there are so many people out there, and this is really interesting too, that I did not know the lady that was doing the paperwork, but she felt comfortable enough because I think, that the way I was talking about something, it certainly wasn't about this. We were there for my car. But she brought up that she was having a lot of difficulty with her awakening.
Wow.
And I'm getting goosebumps. I kind of want to come
That's
to
powerful.
tears now. Yeah, very powerful because it unfolded right in front of you, Steve. And she started to ask me questions. And she said, oh, they think I'm crazy in the dealership here.
Wow.
I had not told her anything about myself, but she felt comfortable to open up to
Yes,
me.
a transaction that should have taken 15 minutes, we were there an hour and
That's
15
right.
minutes.
But
Is that right?
The
Is
more,
that
I mean,
right?
guess what I'm
She went on
saying
and on
really
and on,
here
huh?
is
Yeah.
that I was lucky enough, and although he's not here for me to thank him personally in person, but in spirit he knows what I'm doing, to have had somebody at that time when I'm flying all around in space through my astral projection to explain what was happening to me. And that's why I continue a lot with this show, actually, because there are many. And I said, well, why are you, I was surprised that she'd opened up to me. But she said, how did she even know that I might be able to understand?
How did she know?
She just had a sense
read
and a
your
feeling
aura?
that she could tell me. I had not said anything to her.
She
Russ.
could have been an alien.
Well, she wasn't sure who she was, truthfully.
Well, she could have been.
Because a lot of things.
She could have been testing
But I
you.
gave her the peace of mind that she was not alone. And that's really basically what I want to help people with on my show here. Many things happened to us. She thought she was going crazy. She said, this is not easy. She even turned around and said, I won't mention the dealership because people don't know who she is, and that's okay. But she said, I feel like they're all robots. They're just so mechanical here. But she was beginning to understand that there was so much more. And this was only a week ago.
But this happens to you quite
does.
often.
It does.
People feel that they can open up to you and you give your message and give them readings and messages as to why they feel this way.
So you can do readings?
Well, actually, you're a very good example, Russ. We met in the studio
sure.
here, this studio, to give Dawn and Freddie credit for this whole thing, because without you being here, I wouldn't be here to be able to meet these people. They've just shown up. But you were one of them. I was inside writing my book with, fortunately, Lynn, who passed away. And there was a feeling, there was a sense of you knew that I knew, and I knew that you knew. But I wasn't even 3.5 years ago. I know so much more today. That we struck up a conversation. I believe I was your first guest on your show here that you had at that time.
Right, yes, absolutely.
And I didn't know what I was going to be able to talk about. We hadn't really had a conversation.
And that's still available to look.
Yeah, I would like to go back to listen to
But if you go
that.
to lightsinthe.night.org or Project Disclosure, you will see us talking 3
Yeah.
years ago.
But
It's
you feel,
there. It's
for
still
myself personally, I feel like I've come a long way since then, because when you start, no, it's not so much that. It's the meaning of what we talk about which I've said before, certain things that I'm saying that I think I knew.
Here's a good question.
I knew so much more. There's so much more to know about the thing that I knew. Basically, you don't know what you don't know.
Sure.
And even the words here, which you pointed out to me, have a deeper meaning for me today than they did 20 years ago. And I'm the author of writing these words.
Right.
So how in the world do you explain that, right? Guys, you're very quiet.
Well, the thing, go ahead.
Just letting you guys have the conversation. Good.
Why do you think they chose you? Aldo chose you.
Aldo, I can answer, but
have you ever? I guess you talked about Aldo on the show many times.
Oh, my viewers know Aldo very well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Why did he choose you?
Because he knew me from other lifetimes, and he chose me. He didn't choose. We chose each other. I'm going to say, because I don't think I was special. But
did he tell you what he wanted
very
you to
much
do?
wanted me to awake to this in this lifetime. He knew that I knew from other lifetimes ago, and he wanted to. But he never pushed me into telling me anything until I asked the question. And today I see that. I'm doing drawings of some of what Zachariah Sitchin had talked about, but I didn't know what it even meant. So he would tell me, or go into the book, or go into the internet. You'll see that. I had not, how would I know? I'd never opened up the internet to look and research the things that I didn't even know that I knew. So to me it was very meaningful for basically the 17 years or so that I had with him here on this earth.
That's a long time, 18 years.
Yeah.
You shared with me that last night you dreamt that Aldo was present in your dream.
Yep.
Came to you last night, although you don't remember what, if anything, the conversation
That's really
was
sad
about.
because I know that, when you wake up, I remember the whole dream. I just don't remember what he was talking to me about. So I went back to sleep and he was still there. And that doesn't happen that often with Aldo, because he's with me all the time, but he doesn't reach out to me that much, and I'm sorry, but Aldo, I don't remember what we were talking about.
Do you suppose, knowing what you're going to be talking about today, he wanted to be there in support?
I think so. I think he definitely knows Russ. He knows Dawn and Freddie, and he knows you, but he knew you were going to be a guest on the show. I believe, all of this, can we prove it? No. But my belief system is so strong, and I question how in the world could I be doing what I'm doing unless I wasn't getting help from spirits and from Aldo and from people that we meet here in the studio. I mean, if I was making, which I'm not, but if I wanted to think I was making this up, I couldn't make, you know that. How often do we say, you couldn't make this stuff up?
No.
You can't. So,
Do you think the moon has different energetic frequencies than other planets?
well, I think it's basically, we get the energies from the moon, you know, like people call lunatic. And you know, if it's a full moon, the hospitals I know, they say, oh my goodness, it's a full moon, we're going to be full in the emergency. So that kind of answers the question of, does the moon have energy? Yes, it does, and it transmits to this planet. As far as other planets go, no, I believe they all, I don't know for sure, but I think they have their own moons.
So you think the moon was created by extraterrestrials?
I personally, yes. And
But yet it has its own energy. So
Yes.
Because, yes, I believe it. We did not, this moon was created, it was man-made. That's just my theory. A lot of people are going to
They
say,
made it about 40,000 years ago,
Thank
maybe
you.
140,000 years
well, then
ago.
what energies are coming from that?
Well, it's not a planet. It's an observatory. And they placed it here to watch us. It's an observatory, and the aliens who live there watch us.
Yep.
And that's when the astronauts attempted to go there. They said, this is our planet. It doesn't rotate, you know that. The dark side never shows. We can't see the
because
dark
they've
side.
cloaked it, actually.
Right. So, but if you do a lot of research on it, just kind of Google, a lot of books on it, a lot of shows on it, a lot of people discussing it. A guy named William Tompkins is the person who talks about it often in his book, Selected by Extraterrestrials, the title of his book. They came to visit him in the early 1940s, and they told him how to build spaceships. Those spaceships are now traversing and traveling to different planets. Andromeda, we are on it, astronauts that look like us, along with tall whites, and the Palladians are on those ships, and they've been traveling from planet to planet for the last 30 years. So the government, the secret space force, the secret space program, that's the hidden, so they've been back engineering all of this for the last 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 years.
And these are credible people, like you just
Yeah,
mentioned
right,
him. These are
right,
not just
right.
people that they picked up on the street, or even myself. I mean, I'm credible, but people don't know me, other than through my show. But these people have worked high up in governments. So these are very credible people that are coming out with these stories. And I said to you, you'll hear Russ say things. We had not discussed this, but I said to you the other day, Steve, the moon is man-made.
That's correct.
You may not understand it, but here he is telling the same thing.
The extraterrestrials made the moon and put it there about 40, 50,000 years ago, maybe even more. And it's observatory. It's not like the rest of the planet. It doesn't rotate at all.
Well, as Dawn mentioned, it has a certain energy. It has the energy to control the tides. So how did that energy get there?
Because they have technology that's far greater than what we have.
The technology is way big. We couldn't even possibly
Can't
understand
even
or conceive or conceptualize the development of the technology they have.
And the weather.
Because, look, the weather, yeah. Well, all of us that they made and put on this planet, according to Zachariah Sitchin and others, and many others, Billy Carson and Stephen Greer, they've done their homework on this. So they know. The people who do research, like I was showing you earlier, in terms of shows dealing with this topic of aliens and alien abductions and UFOs and all that, here are 100 different programs on Gaia, on the television today. Most people don't even know these exist. Go ahead.
So when the astronauts went up, what do you think they actually saw?
I truthfully believe that the astronauts had to know.
I mean, I don't think we're going to get a full disclosure on what they saw.
That's the question I asked when we started.
Eventually you will. Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, all of them have true stories, especially Buzz Armstrong. Lately he's saying, we didn't even go to the moon. Lately he's saying that. Now you can pull that up and listen to him. He's talking, he's 94 years old, just got married again. But you can pull that up and listen to what he's saying. He said that was kind of fake. That's what he's saying. along with Edgar Mitchell, who passed a couple of years ago. They saying that it was made up. We didn't even have the technology to put man on the moon.
Think about it. This is
In the
50 years ago.
We didn't have the internet. We didn't have cell phone. And when you're talking about the president Nixon pick up a phone and talk, who he's talking to with that old time phone? We didn't have the technology to even talk to people on the moon.
We've caught up a little tiny bit 50 years later with technology.
So,
but going back 50, they've waited 50 years before they.
But all
Do you
the-
think they actually went now?
Later, but not then.
Do you think this trip was an
Oh yeah, I
actual
think
trip?
this. I think
It
this
could have
was.
been.
I
It
think
could have
this
been.
was an actual.
Look,
shoot.
they're hiding so much that they're not telling us. They don't want us. It's like we in a cul-de-sac. We in a matrix here, and they feed us what they want to feed us. A lot of people don't understand it yet. This is really deep. It's really.
And it's also a lot to bring out, even on my show, Dawn, and I'm aware of that. But then I have written about traveling because I went a different way. I astral projected, and remote viewers today are coming forth with what they've seen.
Let me ask you, can you believe that we're on a planet that we're controlled by thousands, tens of thousands of aliens out there watching us, saying, what are they going to do next as we develop? Would you believe that? That's the picture. Now, because we've been taught that we are omniscient, we're in charge of the universe. There's nothing out there but us.
Right.
But yet they look at us. They don't even want some aliens don't even want us to come here to see us. They say they don't know anything. They're too infantile.
And we joke about that, but it's the truth.
But
They
it's
really
true.
don't want to. I mean, people say they're not going to visit
We're like at
us.
a zoo. They
Yeah.
don't even want to be bothered.
But there's two complete sides of the spectrum. One is the aliens, and we're the social experiment
We are.
of hybrid that we've
Right.
been placed here to see
Right.
how kind or how evil we can be. Well, we can be pretty darn evil if you look back to history
Absolutely.
of what's happened here.
We've demonstrated that.
But yet it doesn't negate the fact of history and the Bible and the Middle East and Mesopotamia. All that evidence exists that it actually occurred.
Yeah, as it
was manipulated back then
as
well.
they wrote the stories. They wrote those are stories.
So life has continued. So look at the old
Actually-
temple is there, and they've found ruins and the things.
Sure.
So you're saying way back the aliens came.
Absolutely.
Part of
This is
and
one
bred
thing
with the human beings.
They wrote it on tablets. Aldo told me when I went back. They
It's
called
true.
the,
She's right.
The
The
travelers.
Sumerian civilization, all of that, the
all there.
Atlantis, Lemuria, that's all true. That's hundreds of thousands.
So history and
in the
evolution
history
does exist. We haven't just been put here currently
In
now.
one
There's
of the
been an
his-
evolution of
in the
what we
history
know.
museum. I didn't get to go there. I went to the wrong history museum. But Aldo told me on one of my visits to London many years ago, have a look at the lost tablets of They're written on clay tablets. A story
true.
of when they came down here from another planet called Nibiru, but it won't make sense.
Absolutely, yeah. The
And
Sumerian
they came
civilization.
here
She's talking about the
to
tablets of the.
to actually came here because they wanted what we had on Earth here. With
To
gold.
catch up with
These are
some
all
of
true.
this, excuse me.
No,
to
that's
ca-
fine.
To
We're
catch
We're
up with,
talking thousands and thousands of years of history,
yeah.
of world history, that have been.
But it's not. People don't know this. We
There's
don't
been-
learn it in schools. They don't discuss this
They
in
don't
schools, and
teach
yet it's
the
right
real
out there in
the
the
true
open.
story.
It's out there in the open, but people
the true
don't know to
story
look
of who
for
we
it.
are and how we evolved
That's right.
is not recorded at any university that I know of. Harvard, Yale, MIT,
They're closing
Sorbonne,
down.
or Howard
What do you
University.
think the purpose, the end game is? What are they looking? Because clearly we can be
Control.
horrible to each other. Look
Yep.
at all the wars. Look
Well,
at what's happening even currently
Okay,
now.
good question. Good question. Here's what Elizabeth April is saying, right, and others. They're saying that we're an experiment. They're watching to see how we grow, and some people call it the prophecy planet, meaning that it was prophesized millions and millions and millions and millions of years ago that an entity will be created one day who will help the other people in the universe understand how to go from the darkest of the dark side,
Right.
light to the brightest day. And we are that kind of people. They think that may be us because in our system we have 24 DNAs from different other alien species in our system. So we have the capacity to be better than anything
That's
out
correct.
there in the broad spectrum of the universe. We have the capacity, and we're developing. But we've been shut down. We only use 5% of our energy, maybe 6% of our mental capacity. Oh, that's all we use.
Right.
Maybe Einstein used 10% at best. So we are not able to use what we're capable of developing to be. And they're waiting to see if we can get past being shut down and one day become that person.
So why,
Become,
my question, which I'm seeing is being played out right now, and we will see more, and there will be disclosure, because they do not want us to blow ourselves up. Because not only does it
Yeah,
affect
but
their
they're gonna-
planets, we're growing. And actually, not all the aliens, but a lot of them want, as you're saying, they want to,
Yeah.
because we have the capacity to do this. We are
the
able
good
to do.
people, the good aliens,
yeah.
and the Galactic Federation
Yep.
Command
You heard me
watching
too.
us all the time, right? And if you read this book, you get a sense of what's really going on by Michael Seller. It's called the Galactic Federation Councils. They meet all the time and watch us and discuss us. And like we're in a cul-de-sac, like in a zoo, in an experiment, like we're in a tube.
An ant farm.
Huh?
An ant farm.
This is what I want to
Sally, you
show
wanna
you.
take a commercial
Steve
break?
is okay. It's a
You
good
got
example.
a commercial break.
Just-
Yeah, we can come back and
Very
finish
Come
up.
back and talk about the
Okay,
ant farm.
ask me. I need to ask you a question, Steve, because you've heard me say everything that Russ is talking
Yeah.
about, and this is someone that's kind of new to the game.
Well-
Let's call it. We'll talk about it.
Okay.
Because I know. How do I know? And he knows. Has to be real.
See you on the other side of the show.
Thank
Okay.
you. You took my-
See you on the
I
side.
always say that.
A true story, Call Me Zena, is the telling of Sally Bernard. Born in London, England at the end of the Second World War, she came into the U.S. in 1979. A mother of 2 and a grandmother of 4, she settled in Florida and worked in real estate. While going through a difficult time in her life, she was admitted into a hospital overnight in December of 2005. While settling back into her life, she began having vivid dreams and documenting them. By the 3rd dream, a lady gave her a message to draw. With no artistic background or interest into art or history, Sally listened to her dreams and grabbed a paper and crayons. Today, she has over 150 pieces of inspiring art and poetry. This book follows her journey and interpretations of these messages. She describes in detail on how she is able to astral a project and who she has met along her travels, including her spirit guides. This book will show you how anything is possible with an open mind. These events have changed Sally's life and direction, and this book will show you how to change yours. Purchase Call Me Zena on Amazon today, authorhouse.com and amazon.com.
Thank you for joining me through this journey of self-discovery with the help of my spirit guides. I'm Sally Bernard, and you can find my book at authorhouse and amazon.com or visit my art on my clothing in my boutique at artbysallybernard.com. Now back to the show. Welcome back to this side of our show. Okay.
This side of the moon.
I was just discussing with Steve and Russ here, because a lot of these things, Steve, I have talked to you about, even man-made the moon.
Yeah.
Again, I had no conversation with Russ, but I am so confident with him talking that it's going to be what I have spoken about, and yet we haven't spoken together. How is this possible? We haven't had a conversation that a lot of people can think, wow, that's out there. You're privy to that because you've heard me talk about it. And basically, Russ is going and confirming even in much more detail than what I told you. So how could this not be a fact, right?
Yes, as you said, I'm a total neophyte when it comes to
We
this.
are.
Well, me more than you or Sally, for sure.
We are
And-
learning, just learning.
And
We're students.
yeah,
That's the best thing. That's the best thing I can be, a student. a
Well,
good
we're all
student.
learning, and we're all in different degrees of a journey.
absolutely.
There are many people that are just starting this journey, but we're all on a journey.
And I'm suggesting that if people who really want to know who they are, to begin to watch these shows and read the books.
And
They're-
how often
they-
do I bring Gaia up? A lot, right?
But there are thousands and thousands of books out there that talk about all of this. The one book I would suggest by William Tompkins, Selected by Extraterrestrials.
Yeah, it's good you're doing this, because a lot of people, let's talk to the audience for a second,
Right.
are sitting there. We don't know who's listening to this,
Right,
okay?
right.
So a lot of them could say to themselves right now, what are they talking about?
It's okay.
I mean, that's fine, because the fact that you're giving other books out, it's like we're showing you that there are many other people that understand this much more than I do. I can't speak for Russ, and you know a lot. But they know more than me. I'm just saying what I know and what I've experienced. And as you say, and you often mention the readers and the books to read,
You
which
gotta
is
do
very
your
good.
homework.
I totally agree
Whether
with
you
you,
be
Russ.
a doctor, a lawyer,
Yeah, I agree
an
with you.
astronaut, and whatever, you got to do your homework. It's called homework.
Yeah.
And we're asking people, in this day of disclosure, to check on the hearings that they do in congressional hearings, and listen to what those people say.
Well, they've come out with a lot of this.
Of
right?
course, yeah. You got David Grush, and you got Lou Alexander, and other people coming forward. Even Laura Eisenhower, and many other people coming forth to tell us, and many more are beginning to come.
Well, my question to you is, how much do you think over the next year that we're going to hear from our governments?
Well, the president, Trump, he knows a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, are they going to come out with it?
Yeah,
He said he will.
Well, he's
something.
a figurehead, but he's going to come out and talk about it. Yes, he is going to talk about it. He did put together the Space Force, not the secret Space Force,
Right.
but the Space Force. And he did establish, and that was in 2019, and he did put the base in Huntsville, Alabama. That's the base now.
So I think a lot of people today, as they're getting older, that have known about this for many years, and I even actually heard this maybe 10 years ago when I was listening to one of these programs, the whistleblowers today
Yeah,
are
they
coming out because they've got nothing to
Bob
hide.
Lazar
Yes, they're
and all
coming
these.
out.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that we're not just sitting here. Well, obviously we're not making it up, but people could think this is too way out to even listen
But
to.
it's going to be
factual.
be strange, because
Right.
the ABC, CBS, NBC, even the Sirius Radio with Howard Stern, all of them are not allowed to talk about this yet, because State Street, Vanguard, and BlackRock owns 100% of the traditional media. They don't want this out because they belong to the Illuminati, the cabal. They belong to the dark side, and they want to still control us and not educate us about what the real story is. That's the real story.
But there are many people today, as they're getting older, that know the story. I mean, we're just touching a little bit of this, that are coming out because they're in their 90s and or 80s, however old they are.
It's hard to.
And they say, you know what, we're not going to. They come to terms of they're not keeping the secret anymore, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, because it's more and more it's going to be released. Like Billy Carson talks about this on his podcast. He has about hundreds of thousands of listeners. Stephen Greer, he's been researching this since 1993. That's 30-some years, right? I mean, he does it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Stephen Greer. He's been kind enough to do 2 documentaries that we can listen to if you want to take time to listen. One is called Unacknowledged, his book, the same title of the book he's written. And that's about an hour. 700 million people have watched that. Then he has another one called The Lost Century. Billions of people have watched that. You can watch it, pull it down, no cost. Google that, The Lost Century. And he talks about 100 years of all this hidden information.
Russ, what do you think we're
those
going to
2.
hear from Steven Spielberg with Disclosure?
He's doing a movie
Yeah,
in another
I don't
month.
know yet.
So he's going to have another movie. And 98% of everything he has in that movie is right on target in terms of disclosure. He did do, a lot of people didn't watch it. I mean, he did, E.T. and War of the Worlds and all of that years ago, Men in Black and all those movies that he had information. But he also did one called Taken, the title, It was a 13-and-a-half-hour television series. If you didn't catch it, those 13 hours that I'm talking about, you can always go to Amazon and get Taken by Steven Spielberg and watch all 13 hours. 98% of everything in that was true in terms of disclosure, the stuff that the secret space.
So you're thinking now, I mean, we're in the year 2026, right? And they have talked about these times, actually. If you go into Gaia sometimes and they predicted dates, I think we're in that part now that so much more is happening, the shift, right?
Everything is for the next
3 or 4 years.
year, 2
Come
years,
out.
that even Bashar,
Bashar, yeah.
he says the aliens are going to walk among us.
Well, they already are. We
Well,
just
they-
haven't
I mean,
opened our
they-
eyes enough.
Right, true. But they're going to let us know who they are. Even the hybrids are going to walk among us and integrate themselves into the society politically, socially, psychologically, philosophically, and they're going to be part of the.
So really, with us coming out in the open now, much more, and I feel much more freer to have
Sure,
you
yeah.
as a guest, obviously, to talk more as I am myself, that now is the time because so much people like open your eyes to what is going on.
Well, we got to wake up.
And I think that now is the shift,
we-
right? We
we-
call it a shift going
And it's
on.
tough for us
Yeah.
to do this kind of, like they say you can't teach old dogs new tricks, but we have to begin to think in terms of other possibilities besides how we've been programmed.
But you talked a little bit about religion and Jesus being
An alien.
an alien.
Yeah.
That changes religion, or does it not?
It is going to change drastically because we were taught the Garden of Eden, and we would talk about Moses, Solomon, we would talk about Ezekiel. He did see the wheel, but we were taught a different story. And
Can I just say this?
Go ahead. I'm
I
sorry.
believe, no, it's okay. And I'm seeing this because it's happening to me. It's the same story, but you look at it differently. And that's so important to understand because I hate to keep.
So you're not refuting history.
No. I
No.
think a lot is absolutely 100% written down and it was true and it was happening. But the more we change our minds and look at it from a different perspective, it's just like what I've written myself. Because I've grown into understanding much more, my perspective of what I'm looking at is a different point of view, although it's the same story. That goes with exactly what you're talking about. I actually, and I keep bringing Aldo up because he's not here, unfortunately, but he made me sit down and watch the Bible with him. And we would just, at that time, you could turn it, it's not that long ago that you could just stop it, but then we could. And he would stop and explain to me things that I had seen in the Bible that really, I'm going to say, didn't make any sense whatsoever, is the way we read into it. But then when he explained to me his point of view of where we'd stopped, I looked at that particular story, that part of the Bible, in a completely different way. Did it happen? In my mind, yeah, it absolutely happened. But I'm looking at it from a different perspective. And I'd looked one way and I'm looking at the other. And I think shows like me and having Russ on as my guest that we're doing is opening, hopefully, we're not going to change everybody
No,
that's listening.
Was Aldo your alien?
Well,
Yes.
he was because he knew
Indeed
so
he
much
was.
more.
He was part alien, yes.
Yeah.
And he had a lot of skills, yes.
Because
So is that
we've-
why he came to you, Sally?
Yes, absolutely, and he told me that. He knew from a year old, and I mean, I know this because he told me people that knew him. He was reading newspapers, and when he was 1 year old, his mother thought he was the devil. But primarily, he was from Peru, and he told me that he'd been looking for me most of his life. I came to America, he came to America. He ended up wherever I was working, he was there. I didn't know him until I was ready to my perspective changed because I had an out-of-body experience. He knew that, explained to me everything that happened in that dream, which I thought, and then opened
very
up
fortunate.
little by little to me.
See, you were very
So he
fortunate
changed
to
my
have somebody
perspective.
who came to her and was guiding her from other parts of the universe. See, there are entities who can come here and take over bodies.
Yep.
There are entities who decide to come here and enlighten us, and so that we can improve our way of behavior, number one, so that we can develop and do better things than we have done up to this point. So they come here and they can take over other bodies and walk around among us and teach us that things are different.
I have to
and
make
teach
a
us
lighter
the truth.
side of this. We're either going to gain a lot of viewers or lose a lot of viewers
Well,
after
so I
this
think they'll learn.
program.
Listen,
So if we go back, let's say 1,000 years,
Yeah.
and put a fictitious number to it, that 1/100th% of the people that were living then knew what you know, and were looking towards the sky, and how has that grown over the years? The percentage of people that are like-minded to
That's
you.
a good question, because more that you know, you can't teach everybody this. They have to be ready. But, you know, to start off little by little, as Aldo used to tell me, so it's like I tell one person, maybe that one person 20 years ago, I couldn't have been able to say what I'm saying. And the more you continue, it's like, he used to say, it's like you throw a stone into the water and it travels. It's the same thing. But you can only talk to someone, you can open up and talk about it, but you have to be ready. But I believe today more and more people, there's a shift, they call a shift going on. I talked even about reincarnation, and I brought this up many times. 20 years ago, people would say, what is she talking about? Today, very few people, they may not understand it, but will say, I don't want to hear about it. There is a possibility. Most of the people I talk to believe in reincarnation today. So it travels. So obviously the numbers are multiplying a little
Right,
bit.
and 4 years ago, a little more than 4 years ago, that we're together, you know, I was one of those that, you know, didn't have any thoughts of what we're talking about at all.
Right.
You know, okay, I saw Spielberg's movies and other movies,
Right.
you know, The Day the Earth Stood Still, and things like that. But it wasn't until we got together and my mind opened that, so how many people are fortunate enough to have somebody like you, or you fortunate to have an Aldo, or you have your guide that we haven't met?
Well, because I don't believe any of this is coincidence. It's synchronicity, because we pick our lives. And this is something Aldo told me. He didn't know much about my last two lives before the one where he was very prominent in the 15th century. And prior to that, I'd been in many lifetimes. But he hadn't tracked me down in the last two lifetimes, because I had made up my mind that everything I had learned in the 15th century was going to be dormant, because I was quite a prominent person and I had a lot of responsibility in that lifetime. So I shut it down. It never left me. But he knew in this lifetime that I had picked up and wanted to bring back what I already knew. So Aldo came into this lifetime with me, and he was here to open up more. I started to draw from other lifetimes. How am I drawing from things I've never seen? Obviously I had. I was ready, but you can't make someone. They've got to be ready. I wasn't ready 20 years ago, 40 years ago, to even begin to, Aldo, a person like Aldo, I can't, if he's not here, he's certainly here. That's for them to come, someone will come into your life to help you.
Let me ask you a question then. We talk about bloodlines,
Yes.
right? So aliens come down, assuming you were there when Christ was born, right? So he's an alien. There is a physical bloodline of Jesus Christ from where he was before to going forward. Physical life stops. So that alien DNA stops?
No.
Where
And
does
I'm
it, so
sure
how does it
Russell
perpetuate
Birmingham-
into the further generations?
It can be dormant. That DNA that we have stays with us, and you will meet people from that DNA. I have no doubt in my life.
Soul DNA,
But
it's spiritual.
It runs. Well, not always in families, because we have soul families. You'll
Right,
meet
but how
them.
does it continue? How were you who you were then,
Well-
and continue here with that same
Okay.
physical DNA?
He answered that question many years ago to me, and I'm just getting the answer. I don't know if it's from him or whatever.
Please.
In order to have, and I'm sure you probably know this, to have a baby of that DNA, you have to be of the, oh my God, he's telling me, this is what he told me, of the same DNA. Otherwise, you're not going to have that child. So it's hereditary. It may be dormant in that child, but as far as what he told me, physically you're not going to be able to have a child unless it matches that particular DNA. Now, no, I've never heard anybody say that before, but it's answering your question through Aldo is answering that to you, Dawn. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
And then the DNA can continue, but it could be dormant in that particular baby because they don't want to know.
Absolutely. Listen, it's so much out there. I mean, you would have to have 1,000 PhDs in astrophysics or many other subject matters or the scientific way of looking at it. It's a lot of it, like billions and trillions of planets out there, and you're still growing. Billions and trillions and billions and hundreds of billions of ideas out there. We're not going to get it all. And again, the best you're using, if you have a PhD from some university or you Einstein, you can use 6 or 7% of your abilities. That's all.
But
you've been shut down. Your pineal gland. I mean, you gotta know that you be in control. You're like a tadpole on a micro dish.
And I think you'll agree with what I'm going to say too, Russ. In order to even understand what he's talking about, it's not that anyone is better than anybody else. That doesn't come into it.
Right.
It's what's in your DNA at that particular moment in time where we are. So what I'm talking about, had I have even spoken to myself this way 40 years ago, I wasn't ready to ignite what I already have in my DNA. So you can talk, and people say, but there's nobody else like me. They don't know what I'm talking about. They really don't know what you're talking about because they haven't, I'm not going to say that, I can't say the capability because we all have capabilities, but it's not their time to understand it, correct? It's there, but this takes many thousands of years to be even talking about what we're talking about.
That was going to be my next comment.
Okay.
Is in our lifetime,
you might see a little bit of it.
We might see a little bit.
Very small percentage, and this is another thing that I wrote about. I think it's like 8% of the people really understand what's going on. And that's the whole world, though.
And it's growing, and it's growing.
It's growing,
If 8%, I'll be surprised.
That's even high, but
yeah, that's high.
It's high.
But I don't know much. I'm stumbling and fumbling.
I know that much, but we're on our travels, so to speak, right?
I know very little. I'm a student.
And then the evolution is, where are we going?
Well,
What do you think?
Again, the prophecy planet, according to Elizabeth April.
And she's really good, by the way. She's only a young girl.
And Linda Moulton Howe and Laura Eisenhower and all those. They said, we're developing the DNA we've been seeded on this planet, right? We're in an experiment, and we will rise to the occasion, if you will, beyond the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, the 9th, the 12th vibratory energy levels.
So survival of the fittest, you think, is truly being those who have been seeded are more of the fittest, essentially.
Because they're more able to comprehend what's going on.
Into
That's correct.
Into the next level.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We're just beginning.
But it's also who you attract.
A child.
But Russ, it's also, we hear about energies, higher frequencies attract certain people, but only the people you're going to attract that are on that, not everyone can reach a higher frequency. That's what I'm wanting to say. So the ones that you meet on a higher frequency that are able to hold that frequency, I would say every one of them can have this type of conversation because we're on a higher frequency. Now, it doesn't mean to say, and I'm not saying to people you can't get there. Yes, you will get there, but it wasn't their time to get there.
It takes work. It takes study,
a lot of
concentration.
Is there the link then between the aliens or beings of light and spirituality on that fifth dimension?
Oh,
absolutely. You see?
and it's called the law of one.
That's right.
David Wilcock.
He was,
Get his books. I mean, some books he's written that was 7, 8, 100 pages.
He wrote about the law of one.
But you need to get to the law of one.
But see, it takes studying. It definitely does. Everything that
concentration, studying. David Icke, he's deep into it.
And all of these pieces, your spiritual, your religious, your aliens, it really is. It's just one.
Absolutely,
essence of
everything
one.
is
everything.
one.
We're individuals, but we're one. Seeking the truth,
Yeah.
basically.
Trying to
And
explain,
during
trying
that
to
journey,
understand.
we're at all different levels, Dawn. So people that are on a lower, I'm going to say a lower vibration, because they haven't reached a higher vibration, they're traveling along, and they really, it's okay, but they're not interested, and that's okay.
And they don't want to hear it.
But
at
they
this
won't
time.
understand.
And
They
it's
can't
okay.
comprehend it. They basically cannot comprehend it.
Well,
Don, what you said a moment ago is kind of scary, that survival of the fittest comment you made, because that kind of, reeks of the 1940s
Logan's Run, yeah.
and other times.
Well, unfortunately, that's
where we are.
we've seen it
That's
lived
where we
out.
are.
We've seen it lived out.
Everybody's
They
not
wanted to
gonna-
make a
I don't
perfect
mean
race.
war. I just mean
No.
emotional and intellectual evolution.
Intellectually astute to understand
yeah.
different
And it
concepts.
doesn't mean, and not to put people down, because that's the last
no,
thing
it's
I
not
want to
about
do.
putting anybody down.
It's
We're all
just
learning.
that let's say we're using more of our brain from our DNA that is left over from other lifetimes. So we can ignite that. If we met, we knew each other, Dawn, but we're able to talk on a, doesn't mean that necessarily we're more intelligent of what we learned in school. That's okay, that's a given. You learn in school and some people learn more. But this is a different type of intelligence, if you want to say.
Well, you feel this studio then sits on a higher frequency.
Yes.
Because when you leave here, these conversations don't necessarily continue.
No, but you still can meet people like that girl. I'm in a dealership,
Yeah.
and she says to me, now she didn't know yet, she was beginning her journey,
Yeah.
but I could have talked to her for 4 hours and she would
Absolutely.
comprehend a lot of it.
Absolutely.
I didn't know her. I was buying my car actually, and what am I going to? We're doing the financing part of it, or whatever.
All right, so what's next? We've got a few more minutes.
Oh, okay.
Well, listen,
We only have a few
I'm
minutes.
encouraging. Not everyone will hear you when you speak.
Sure.
Right. True.
For those people who are really curious or interested, I say do your homework. Go listen to Stephen Greer on his show, podcasts. He has hundreds of millions of people listening to that. Billy Carson, Laura Eisenhower, Linda Mutenhouse, Jimmy Church, Beyond Belief.
Let's make it simpler. Like go into YouTube or Gaia.
Right.
And you can pick out the subject
Right.
instead of them remembering all the names,
See,
which are great,
Let me go back a minute.
and look it up.
Just a quick second in
Yeah.
history. In 1970s, it was a guy called Art Bell.
Yeah.
He was doing a radio show in the middle of the night on paranormal and UFOs.
I remember him.
He had millions of listeners. Would you believe that? In the 70s, he had millions of listeners in this country. And they used to have meetings, people come out to meetings. 10, 20,000 people would come and listen to what people had to say about all of this. But we were shut down.
How did I know about him? I knew that I hadn't woken up, but I know Art Bell. I used to listen to him every night.
Well, see there?
And then who took over was the guy
Google
from...
his name. See what go look at his
But,
history.
the other guy took over from
Yeah,
him.
George
What
Norrie.
was my interest
George
at that
Norrie
time?
took
I
over
didn't
from
even
him.
know.
And George, in his
George
program
Norrie.
is called Beyond Belief.
That's right.
Now he's getting ready to fade out, and Jimmy Church is getting
Yeah.
ready to take his place. You got to go dig on your history. If you don't know your history, you're not going to know who you are. You got to go get the history of this so we can understand. It's about a minute and 40 seconds, and
And
you
then
want
there
to
has
close
to be
out.
those
I don't
believable
know.
people
that's
that
okay.
can get the message across.
You should talk about
Curiosity is
but
important.
tell people you're going to be at the event on the
Okay,
12th
I'm going to
of
let
May.
Dawn say it because
And you
you
can have your
Dawn
book
can
there.
Talk about that.
Talk about
what you
that.
have.
So join us on Tuesday, May 12th at 5 o'clock at Crazy Uncle Mike's for the Ant Media Futures Foundation Caps Off for a Cause. It is a graduation-themed event to raise money for the interns right here at Ant Media Productions who learn about all of these great topics, who learn video production, audio production, social media, writing, magazines, and all the information and content that we all share here, they get to work with as well. So come on out and see Sally and her books.
Yes, she's going to have books there.
And
She'll
Russ is
sign.
going to be there, and he can give you more information as
Well,
well.
Sally's going to be, and Dana's going to be there.
And Dana's
Dana's
going to be
gonna
there
be
also.
there.
Dana's
So
going to be hosting.
you get around people who are a little bit more involved, and you can pick up some good information from him. So it's a very good place to be. Steve is going to be
Well,
there,
thank
right?
you,
No,
Russ,
I'm
for
gonna be
being
out
my
of town,
guest.
unfortunately.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He's out of town.
I'm sorry.
You're going to be
But
there?
thank you.
Well,
Are
I
you going to
should
be
not-
there?
I got to come
Exactly.
through.
Okay. And Russ will be there, and everybody in the
I'll be
studio
there.
here will
but
be
we
there.
really appreciate what you do here, and
Thank
we
you.
want to support you
Thank
because you help educate all of us. As slow as we are, here we are.
Okay, I'll see you guys next week. Bye. Thank you. You have been watching Call Me Zena with your host, Sally Bernard. As an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer, know that you can always seek me out for resources by visiting artbysallybernard.com. Join us next week, Mondays at 2:30. Have a blessed day.